Well, hey everybody, welcome back to another week of the Fixate Binge Podcast. I am your weekly host, Joe. I come to you from the Central Valley of California, otherwise known as Dante's Ninth Circle of Hell. We are experiencing, well, to be honest with you, it's typical. This is typical Central Valley summertime heat. When I first moved out here, I remember looking at the geography of where I would be living because I moved out here to be near my wife's family. And I remember going, oh, this is more north central California. And in my head, the word north is synonymous with cooler, milder climate, knowing nothing about the historical weather patterns of the state of California. When I moved out here, I was in shock at how dry and hot it is for about 4 to 5 months out of the year. So, all things considered, compared to other places in the United States that are currently cooking and roasting, I think the California Central Valley has been pretty low key in terms of heat. So, this week, my kids went back to school. I have 2 daughters that are still in school. My son, of course, is not in school, and all the beautiful chaos about getting kids up in the morning and getting them out the door and handing car keys to the daughter to drive to and from before school and everything else. So if you are still raising kids at home, I sympathize with your stress. I sympathize with your worry. It's a beautiful chaos. I don't know. There's nothing you can do about it. It is what it is. I have had an opportunity to see a few things on television and a few things, actually one thing on television that I think we can talk about really quickly, only because it's relevant. It just came out, and that is Netflix's latest thriller. I called it kind of a post-COVID themed thriller called The Last House. It stars Greta Lee, who is just such a great actress, and Wagner Moura, who of course is an established great actor. And the story is, it's a little bit like a Shyamalan film. The premise, the setup, it's all very interesting, but they don't stick the landing. It's such a mess. It's directed by Louis Leterrier, or Letterer. I don't know how you pronounce that guy's last name, but it's directed by him, and it's kind of a wasted opportunity, really, if I'm being honest with you. They kind of squandered an interesting premise and gave it really nowhere to go, nowhere interesting anyway. And I'm going to spoil this for you. I'm going to spoil a little bit of it for you. But the family, as all families are, a huge rainstorm descends on this town that this family is at. And it turns out it sounds like it's descended all over the world. And everyone is sort of entombed in their homes, and they can't leave. The doors are sealed shut. The windows are shut. Some sort of tempered strength is applied to the windows. You can't break the windows. You can't open the windows. You can't get out of the house. You are in the house. You are under house arrest. Who or what isn't made immediately clear. And when you do find out that there might be some kind of either extraterrestrial or highly anomalous type things that are contributing to these people being stuck in their homes, that's where my interest got piqued. I was like, oh, okay, so the plot thickens. We've got something supernatural here, something definitely atypical. So let's explore that. Let's see where this goes. And they didn't really go anywhere with it. They didn't. They just kind of said, well, it is what it is. We're stuck indoors. Let's learn to get along with each other. So that's what they do. They get along with each other for years, stuck indoors. There's some clever ways in which they're trying to survive and produce their food. I'm yawning because the film was boring, to be honest with you. It was a snooze fest. And when they finally did reveal the creatures and the things, the reason why this was happening, they didn't really even explain the reason why it happened. But when there was a creature reveal, I don't know. It kind of reminded me like a cross between, well, you know what? I'm not going to spoil that. You may still want to see it. I don't want to spoil the ending, but It was pretty disappointing for me. I did not really care for the film, and it's sad because it had a very interesting and viral ad campaign. There's a guy on Hollywood Boulevard. They've built a mini home within the billboard, and for 3 days they've hired an actor to live in this billboard, which looks like a bas relief or the scenery of an inside home. And he will wave to people on the street from this billboard, and he'll write messages on a chalkboard or a dry erase board. And it's interesting. I mean, it's such a clever ad campaign for this film. So there is some hype. And of course, like I said, Greta Lee and Wagner Moura are very talented actors. And when you watch the film, I was really deflated. It was one of the bigger disappointments in terms of horror thriller. So yeah, that's disappointing. Other than that, there's been some other developments. I mean, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey continues to hurt the feelings of MAGA incels around the world, mostly in America. It has crossed $1 billion faster than any previous Nolan film. It has surpassed The Dark Knight, much to the chagrin, much to the very hurt and sensitive feelings of the incel snowflakes around the world who really wishing upon a star that this thing would fail. And it didn't. And so that's been kind of nice. The other thing that I really want to get into, because that is the subject of this podcast today, is my guest is Reed Arnold. He is a writer, actor, director, producer. He's a one-man band. He's wearing so many hats. I became acquainted with his work. I was sent a screener of a movie that he wrote, directed, and starred in. It's called Do Us Part. I have the trailer. I hope it's okay if I play the trailer during the podcast, because this is purely promotional. And in a moment, we're going to meet Reed, as he is my very special guest on this podcast, for a brief chat about the making of his film. And I hope I asked some really good questions here. You'll be the judge of that yourself, of course. Anyway, without further ado, here is the trailer for Do Us Part.
Settle those nerves.
Last thing I want is to be tense at the altar.
Last thing I want is to be distracted because I had to pee. Damn it!
I just want to celebrate.
How's the bride?
Cool and collected. How's my brother?
He tried to run, so I tied him up.
Freaky.
I just want to celebrate.
Rose? Rose!
All night.
Rose, you broke his heart in college.
Does he love her?
No, I don't think so. I think they just got bored this morning. Decided to throw a wedding.
Does he love her like?
Holy shit. It's probably best if he doesn't see you.
Did he see you?
Hey, Ryan.
Why are you here?
I love you. What kind of cake did you get?
Rose.
Okay, here's the thing. I am, and I was, so in love with you.
Love is patient, love is kind, love comes in at the last possible second to ruin other people's happiness.
Love is 5 girls in 1 weekend.
That was a good weekend!
Why would you slap me? You know that's my thing.
You are a sleazeball.
My little sister's here.
You didn't sleep with her, did you?
Since we're confessing things.
I'm gonna kill you! She came onto me. Your sister is sexually aggressive. I thought of you the whole time.
That did not go as expected.
I'm sorry, I need therapy!
Your fantasy's running off with the girl who broke your heart in college. You don't need a fantasy. You have a reality. If you let her ruin what you have, you are dumber than I ever would have thought.
Hello.
Oh, sorry.
Can I help you?
I told you weddings would be fun.
I want you to do what makes you happy. Maybe it could be with me.
I just want to celebrate all night.
And that is the trailer for Do Us Part. It is currently in cinemas now. It will stream on August 14th. So It's playing in select cinemas. It doesn't have the budget. Obviously, it's an indie feature. It doesn't have a promotional budget to push it into lots of cinemas, but it's playing in select cities around the country. If you live in a college town, maybe on the West Coast or the East Coast in a big city, chances are it's there, and you should check it out. My feeling about the film was that it's one of the finest and funniest rom-coms I've ever seen, and I really am pretty effusive with my praise for the film because it's such a nice return to form. We've really been missing rom-coms in the cinema lately, and I have some theories why, and I kind of broached those in my interview with Reed. But honestly, without further ado, let me introduce you to Reed Arnold, my very special guest on this episode of the Fixate Binge Podcast. Hope you enjoy. Well, I'll just dive in. I think if if the meter's running, I'll just dive in now.
Sure thing.
Reed, I feel like I'm going to join a chorus of thank yous, and I'm gobsmacked at Do Us Part. I loved every frame, every jot, every tittle, every interplay, every back and forth tete-a-tete that went throughout this film. This was such a fun and funny film. Thank you for making this.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you for liking it. There are frames I don't like, so I'm glad you like them all.
Okay, yeah, got it. Well, only we know our good side and our bad side, right?
That's right.
So if I'm not mistaken, this story has lived with you for over a decade. It began as a stage play in 2015. And then now it's a feature film. And I wanted to know from you, Reed, looking back now, what surprised you most about the story after spending so many years with it?
Yeah. So especially from the adaptation from stage to screen, which, it lived as a play for about 4 years, and I was reluctant to change it because I really liked the play structure, and it was just the 3 characters, and it worked, and I knew it worked, and I was like, I don't see this as a film, but eventually I realized that that's what I should do, just practically. And so I adapted it to a screenplay, and then eventually decided to film it with the same 3 actors who originated the roles in the stage play. And the things that really surprised me, there were a few. One was just the opening up of the story and the realization that, we could flesh out the world a little bit, and they don't get a lot of screen time, but I get to sprinkle in the characters who are talked about a lot in the play, but you don't actually meet them. And then there was the decision to include, which I guess I'll spoil it, I don't know, to include Julia. The scene with the bride was a decision I made that is now in the play as an optional but highly recommended scene.
Yeah.
And so just this ability to add these characters and flesh out that story and put faces to the names was really fun, and it let me write some additional scenes. It had a little more conflict and interesting things happen, which was great. The other thing that was really fun was seeing the cast reunite 8 years after we'd staged the play. Having grown up and matured a little bit. 2 of us had gotten married, and we slipped back into the roles, but there was definitely a gravitas and maturity that was not there when we first staged it. We staged it at 27, so we were kind of the right age. Like, we're a little too old for the college, but a little too young for the wedding stuff. And when we came back, we were perfect for the wedding stuff, and now a little too old for college. But it's a movie, so who cares? But it was really fun to see us all step back into the role and carry it with just a little more sophistication.
I could not agree more. When you mentioned the inclusion of Julia, I wasn't aware that she wasn't in the stage version. And what it reminded me of on the spot was when David Mamet's Glenn Ross translated from its hit Broadway play into the movie. They wrote the character of Alec Baldwin's character. That wasn't in the that wasn't in the stage play, and that
most
really,
famous scene.
It's the best scene. You gotta have brass balls.
Yeah.
It's and it's one of the standout scenes, and just not to take anything away from your character, from Mark or Rose or Ryan in this movie. Julia's or Julie, is it Julie?
Julia, yeah.
Julia, a great Beatles song. Julia, that is expert writing. When, as all the beautiful chaos that's going on at this wedding venue, and then you have Julia come in and deliver, I think, some of the best dialogue I've ever heard in a rom-com. Just
that's real kind. Thank you.
From the heart. Yeah, I can't imagine your play without that. And as I was watching the movie, I was like, I didn't know any background about this. I was watching the screener, and I said, this reminds me of an episode of Faulty Towers, and this would work as a stage play. And then I went back and did some research. I'm like, holy flipping heck, it is. It is.
Yeah.
So I guess you've answered so many of my questions. I had a lot of questions to your response. But I guess I wanted to know, Reed, do writers ever, like in this instance, do writers ever grow tired of their own material? And if they do, or if they don't, what kept bringing you back to these characters instead of moving on to something new?
Yeah. To answer your first question, I am, I've seen this movie about 200 times now, at least. So I'm definitely ready to release it to the world and work on something new. But I still do love, and if I had the chance to stage it again and play the role again, I'd probably do it because it is very fun. I have written other scripts since I wrote this one. They're, kicking around. I hope they get made. But the thing that made me keep coming back to this one is just, it's the first full-length thing I ever wrote. And so there are choices I made that I know now as a more professional, quote unquote, writer, like that's not really what you're supposed to do. But, I did it, and it, I got a little lucky and it kind of worked. And it was, I staged this thing, and, the audience response was really strong, and it convinced me to stick with it. My parents, God bless them, when I told them I was putting this up as a play in 2015, they came out to see it. And I didn't know this at the time, but they were coming first off to plan to tell me like, hey, Reed, you've done this for 2.5, 3 years. Nothing's really clicking. Maybe it's time to pack it up and go home. And the other thing I didn't know is they were like, I don't think Reed is funny. Like they did. Because I play kind of the fast talking crude Lothario, but I was an straight A student and kind of a dork, and so they were concerned that I was staging a comedy. But then they saw it in a nice full room, and everyone was laughing, and they apparently went home. I didn't know this for years. They went in their car that night and said like, well, he has to keep trying. And so, if it could convince my parents to make me stick with it, it's just a story that stuck with me and sticks with people. And so I knew I had to get it up at some point, and just finally decided to do it myself.
Wow, that is fantastic. And I mean, you're right. When it comes to family, there are no harsher critics other than the critics we are of our own material.
Well, it's totally sensible. It's a hard road to walk. So I get it. But. Yeah.
And I can imagine any loving, supporting parent, at some point do you say, ooh, Little Miss Sunshine might not be you might not win this, right?
Right.
So do you think that extra decade of this material, from 2015 until you started, until production began, do you think that made you a better filmmaker for this particular story? And you may have already answered this because you said we were in our late 20s when we staged the play, and we weren't really in the headspace mature-wise, and then 10 years later coming back, now we are. I guess that's my question for you as a filmmaker. Do you think that helped?
I think it did. I also, Joe, I'm going to confess to you, I still have a hard time thinking of myself as a filmmaker or a director. I directed this film kind of out of necessity to get it made. And because I knew I'd be a control freak and was not going to be able to, I knew I was going to have to do it. But I am very forthright, and was forthright with my crew that I don't really know much about the technical aspects of filmmaking. I feel pretty confident about writing, and I can direct actors. I did that on stage a little bit. But when it comes to camera work and lenses and setting up a shot, like I totally relied on my director of photography, Nick Vanetta, who was great and really helped me out. And told him what I kind of wanted it to look and feel like, and he took it and did it on not much money, so God bless him. But I did this, I directed 2 short films in the summer before doing this, and that's what got my arrogance up to be like, hey, those went pretty well, let's try a feature. So I don't claim much maturity as a filmmaker. I still feel like I don't know anything. I've been falling face forward through the whole process, but I tried to hide it. And I relied on really smart, really talented, creative people who could do their jobs exceptionally well and make me look good by making the film look good, which is not a bad way to direct. I've realized, if that's how you direct, great.
Yeah, and I've heard this. If you have a competent DP, if you have an excellent crew around you, and they invest in your vision and they understand your choices, they can make it happen for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, you may not think of yourself as a filmmaker, but I certainly do.
Thank you. I'm working on it.
Mostly because I'd like to see more from you. I'd like to see more in this. In my review, I talked about how it feels like the golden age of the rom-com at the cinema, right? Has kind of passed. You know, the Sandra Bullocks, the Julia Roberts, to a lesser degree, the Matthew McConaughey's, and you know, they're not making rom-coms the way they used to, Cameron Diaz and things. You know, the rom-com seems to be pushed out as a mid-budget movie. It seems to be pushed out. It seems like the cinema is investing more in a different genre, probably horror. And so when when I watched your film, I was like, this restores my faith that the rom-com deserves to come back in a major way.
Well, I hope so, because that's definitely the genre I feel most comfortable in.
Yeah.
I've written many other genres, but that snappy dialogue is the kind I drank when I was a teenager. I watched Friends on repeat for years.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah. And so, that's what I was trying to kind of mimic: Friends, How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Try to kind of capture that feel. But I hope it comes back every now and then. So, you know, Anyone But You made a pretty big splash at the box office, and every now and then you get one that breaks through. I think, I mean, we could get into the ethos of the rom-com and what the industry's thinking about it. I think it was the genre that got really figured out from like 95 to 2010 in a way that got predictable. And so it became very, very common to have the lead romantic couple be at odds in some way, right? You've Got Mail, they're in competing businesses.
Sure.
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. They have conflicting bets. And so there's this big, there's always a contrivance in getting the irony of the pairing. And that worked for a while, but I think audiences got a little stale to it. And, you know, my film doesn't, it's just the romance, right? There's no real, nothing besides that, and that might be harder to do. So I don't know. I'm rambling now, but I do think about it because I do hope it comes back.
I mean, you're right. I mean, there is a certain. I mean, bless his soul. We lost Rob Reiner, the creator of one of the great rom-coms, When Harry Met Sally. Yep. Nora Ephron has passed on. One of the great creators of the genre, of course. But you're right. It's that age-old battle of the sexes. It goes back to Much Ado About Nothing or Taming of the Shrew. Maybe some of it did feel a little stale, a little bit formulaic. Your film breathes, in my opinion, it breathes fresh air into it because there are no discernible villains at all in your movie.
I'm glad you think that. Some people take a different tack. Some people do not like Rose very much.
They don't like Rose,
which I understand. I mean, I get it. She and so Kelly, God bless her, I cast her because she is inherently likable in my opinion, and so it's like, you know, you need someone if you're going to be doing this on a wedding day, you need someone who the audience can root for, and most people at least like her and understand her, even if they don't like what she's doing.
Right.
But yeah, I'm glad you think that because I love all three characters. I think they're, you know, wonderful and flawed in their own ways.
Well, I can tell you love them because you wrote them so well. I mean, I think that's the mark of a screenwriter or a writer who loves all of his characters, warts and all. You know, and you definitely did. And I think the thing that when I first watched it, I thought, we have a reluctant runaway bride here. I think I've seen something with Julia Roberts as a runaway bride. She's, she's shotgunning Smirnoff mini bottles from the mini bar.
Yeah, right.
And then we find out, oh no, she's not. Mm-hmm. And so there were some wonderful surprises in your film, and your character. I mean, I guess I have to ask, when you're directing yourself in comedy, who tells you if the joke isn't working?
Well, a few things. One is that we had the play. You know, it'd been 8 years, but we had done the play, and most of the play is still in the movie, right? And so we had a pretty good sense of what jokes worked and what jokes didn't, and how to deliver them to make them work. So that really helped in this whole process. And that's when I decided to film it. I didn't know for sure my cast would be able to rejoin me, but I sure hoped they would, because I needed people who could do it really quickly and really well. And who better to do it than them, right? They helped form the characters practically. So I've kind of forgotten where I was going with this, but Oh, who directed me in so yeah, I had the play in the comedy. And the other thing is I told my castmates, I was like, I can't really watch myself and I don't have time to do watch back right now. So if you have an idea for delivery, if you have a note on my performance, give it and I'll put it on camera at least so we have it. And so yeah, there were times where someone would give a pitch, or even in more serious moments, give like a, hey, Reed, I know you're wearing 400 different hats and you're very busy, but I think
Right.
you want to do that scene one more time, and I need you to settle into it and actually listen to your scene partners and do all that basic acting stuff. But it was really helpful to have them around for that.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's a loaded question, that it's almost answered itself, because it is a stage play. You do know the natural rise and fall of where the audience is going to follow you. You know about comic timing because you've staged it.
Right.
And so that was kind of a lame question, if I'm being honest.
Oh, no, totally fair.
Is there a joke that you can think of that you had to leave on the cutting room floor? Or did they all, or what we see is what is the best we got,
Well, there are some that were in the play that I cut because I actually think that they'd aged poorly, and so I did some editing there. Yeah, there were some jokes there that got cut. There were a few that got cut in the edit, but not terribly many, and none that I thought were particularly hilarious. It was always is it worth the time or not? We were trying to get this to about 90 minutes, and we did succeed.
Yeah.
But I didn't lose too many jokes that I regret losing. There are a few jokes that I wish I had cut. In fact, there's still a few in there. I'm like, we could have gotten rid of that one. But no, I think most of the jokes I really wanted to are in there. One of the big decisions was Scout and Atticus Finch or Ron and Ginny Weasley. I'd filmed both of those, and I was trying to decide which one to go with.
Right.
Ron and Ginny Weasley is a little bit broader,
Yeah.
but Scout and Atticus Finch is a little darker, and so I went with Scout and Atticus Finch.
Gold, just gold.
Yeah.
The thing, as much as funny as this film is, at some point, the romance. I mean, and I'm not trying to be reductive here by calling your film a rom-com, but one of the things that I think it does expertly well is you balance the comedy with the romance, with the drama, and there are. I mean, at some point, it can be intoxicating, I think, especially on stage, to chase laughs.
Yeah, sure.
But you gave your film or play oxygen for silence, to let silence do its work, and to really let the most important emotional moments, like Julia's scene or the scene between Rose and Ryan towards the end, you put laughter off to the side and said, let's not lose. It seemed like you said, let's not lose focus, that the purpose of this is these two working it out and coming to an understanding. And that, I don't even know if I have a question here for you, Reed. I just have praise, because I see too many rom-coms drop the ball with that.
Yeah.
When they try to have their cake and eat it too. And you've done it. You've found a wonderful balance between this.
Well, I appreciate that. That's certainly what I was trying to do. And again, I'm going to talk about those sitcoms, Friends, How I Met Your Mother, and great rom-coms like When Harry Met Sally is a great example, right? Where there's hilarious moments, but all of a sudden it turns and they're having a serious conversation between people who love each other in some way and need to figure stuff out. And then even still in those, you might find a joke, a little, laugh moment or two, but you let the emotional through line actually carry the scene. And this was born out of things I was going through and wanted to process. And so there's real emotion in there, and real situations that are difficult. And it's about it. It has a rom-com setup and a rom-com premise, but I do think the film changes at the midpoint. Again, I don't mean to spoil too much, but it becomes a question of less, are these two going to end up together, and more, are these three people going to remain friends? It kind of slips. All of a sudden, the question subtly changes, and I didn't intentionally do that, but it became kind of the thing that emerged. And when you like all three people and realize that they like each other, and you hope that they can, despite the immense complications that I crafted for them. Um, Friendship's a really important thing and a really special thing, and it can be difficult, and romance can certainly get complicated very often in those scenarios. But ultimately, I think if you can maintain friendship as lovers or as friends, keeping the friendship alive is important.
I I could not agree more. I think that has so much to do with your cast, and I forgive me, the names of Ryan.
Kelly Russo is Rose, and Travis
Ro-
Laughlin is Ryan.
That's right. So Travis and Kelly, and your character, of course, Mark. Sorry, Reed. They're written so well, and you guys inhabit them so well. But of course, you've lived with them for so long that
Right.
it was easy to care about your characters. It was easy to invest because those characters felt lived in. They felt authentic. And I guess my question with that is, and I don't know if this answers itself, but was there ever, I mean, was there something about what, is it Travis or is
Travis is Ryan.
Travis?
Yeah.
That's right. Apologies, Travis. If you're listening to this, I apologize, man. Is there something about Travis and Kelly's characters that you felt no one else is going to be able to bring their knowledge and believability to those characters?
Oh, well, I mean, the I'll just say, the play was originally, we're calling it a play. It was originally a 25 page. I intended for it to be a short film and never filmed it. And then we started rehearsing it as a play and grew it into the 90-page full length story. And in doing so, I was rehearsing with them, and getting to know them better. And so certainly when I was writing these scenes, it was specifically with them in mind. And occasionally I borrowed true things from their backstory. I think she'd be okay with me mentioning this. Kelly's father had very recently passed away when we were staging this play. And I
Oh,
called her one day and asked her, I was like, I'm really sorry to ask this of you. And I wasn't
yeah.
trying to just use this, but it was like, I need something about Rose. I needed something where Ryan dropped the ball with Rose, and Rose felt really isolated and slighted. And, I needed something to put you on Rose's side a little bit, something big and momentous that
Yeah.
made her a little more likable, and you understand her point of view just a little bit more. And I thought of this, and I called her and I said, are you okay? Are you comfortable with me doing that? And she's a very courageous actor, and she said,
Yeah.
that's absolutely fine. And so uh, there's definitely elements of them in these characters at this point, because I wrote it with them fully in mind.
Sure.
And I'm not saying no other actor could do it. I've seen other actors do it on stage beautifully.
Yeah.
But certainly they're still my favorite to see in the roles.
Well, it works. It absolutely works. I think the other question I had was for your character. Your character, definitely, I can definitely see some DNA or influence from. Oh my gosh, he's in How I Met Your Mother.
Barney Stinson, the Neil Patrick Harris character.
Neil Patrick
Yeah.
Harris. I almost said Doogie Howser and then revealed how old I really was.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Neil Patrick Harris's character. That's definitely there's definitely a kinship, I think, with those two characters. But what I loved about, and the reason why I thought of obviously Neil Patrick Harris's character because of the Lothario background of your character,
Right.
but also because your frantic ability to be the best man and to hold everything together. You keep trying to hold this whole venue together from falling apart, and yet your emotional life kind of takes a back seat and stays largely beneath the surface. Did you always see him as one of the film's emotional anchors, or did that emerge in performance? Was that workshopped as a play or as a film?
No, so the original 25-page short script was just the wedding stuff, and the through line there is basically unchanged. And it was originally called The Best Man, and The original kernel in my mind was, what if a woman came to crash a wedding and the best man tried to keep it from happening, tried to get her away,
Right.
in part because he had a secret himself, and I won't spoil that secret, but
Right.
I thought, like, what if he had a personal reason to try to, keep her from getting with the groom? And I really liked that idea. It's like this sweet sacrifice, like what a noble gesture from this guy. And then my immediate next thought was like, so you should expect him to be totally incapable of that. Make him the worst guy and bring in that Barney Stinson
Sure.
element. And yeah, have him be, he's certainly flawed. He's crass. He's crude. He's casual with romance and love, maybe cynical even, but it comes from a kind of, a little bit of self-loathing, a little bit of insecurity, but he's fiercely loyal to his friends. And that's the kind of Mercutio aspect of it all that I also try to channel, right? They're like, well, I'm totally lost and screwed up, but if I can help Romeo, if I can, if I can make his life good, he's so virtuous, maybe I can redeem myself by protecting him. And so I kind of tried to bring that element to the thing as well. So that's why I think you like Mark, and why you like Barney. Same kind of thing, right? He's at the end of the day, he's got your back, and he's very loyal. And that adds a lot of chits to his credit, despite his many flaws.
Yeah, very good. That's so brilliant. That adds an extra insight into your character now. I also wanted to just ask a couple questions. I think we have a few more minutes left. Weddings are supposed to celebrate certainty. They're supposed to be, you say vows, you assert your love. And yet your film is a lot about uncertainty. Was that contrast intentional from the beginning?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
I had a lot of anxiety about marriage. My parents impressed on me that it's one of the two most important things you decide in life is who you marry, right? And they had in my opinion, a very good marriage, and a great example to live up to, and in ways a lot of pressure to live up to, and so I was like, oh my. And then there's when you're in your early 20s and maybe of a certain disposition, do I deserve that kind of, I don't know. I've just had that. It's just a hard thing to work through.
Yeah.
And there's something about a wedding that is a finality. There is a goodbye to it, a goodbye to your previous life. And you are certainly saying something certain, and you hope the future remains certain, but it is a goodbye. And I've always struggled with change. But that's partly why I like the Julia character's inclusion, because you have kind of the meeting of insecurity and security. And I'm gonna praise my wife. Actually, my wife inspired the character of Julia. She was my girlfriend at the time, but she was just very, very calm, very level-headed, not a jealous bone in her body. And when we were getting married a few days before, this was after I'd already written the play, but it still shows my wife's just character. We sat down and talked to each other and said, like, look, I love you very much. I will be so sad if this can't happen, but this is if we need to not do this, if you need to not do this, let's not do this. I'll be very sad, but I want you to do, looking out for each other. Right. And we both said, like, no, we want to do it. And it was the easiest thing in the world to marry her. But that just like, it was a very secure thing. And again, after all my insecurity about marriage, to have this security the day before and be like, no, I definitely want to do this. Really. I just adore my wife. So, yeah.
Well, I hope she's listening. I hope she's listening.
Yeah,
you can put some chips in your score some points there. I could not agree more. I grew up in a broken home. I grew up in foster care. My mother's married 4 times. I mean, I'm not trying to trauma dump here, but I am saying I am celebrating my 25th wedding anniversary this year.
Congratulations, Joe. That's wonderful. May I reach the same?
Yes, and to you and yours, health and happiness. In other words, that behavior of what a happy marriage looks like is not necessarily modeled for me. So I give my wife most of the credit. But I don't know where I was going with that. That wasn't really a question.
Awesome. I mean, that's awesome. Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
I will say the other thing about weddings that is so fun is, while it is a celebration, there is certainty. It's my opinion that there is almost always heartbreak under the surface. Like someone,
Oh,
something's going on. They're just so dramatic. You get old friends back together again, and
yeah,
either two exes who are guests at the wedding are there, or
right.
someone's in love with the groom, or someone's in love. Like there's something complicated. So
Sure.
it's just such a rich story, rich place for drama, which is why I think we keep seeing them.
Well, I wanted to say, because this is going to go out of my head if I don't say it now. I can't be the only one thinking this. I'd love to see a sequel. I'd love to see a sequel where Mark is the one getting married and Ryan is the best man. I mean, I would love it because I fell in love with all your characters, with Rose and Ryan and Mark.
Yeah.
I fell in love with those characters. I want another experience. I want another trip with them.
I don't know. I'm glad you want that. I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to think of how it would work and how to do it without cheapening what has been done. You want it to be good and merit existing. So I'm kicking that can around and seeing what I find out.
Okay.
No promises,
I would love that.
But
and probably note to self, probably don't invite Vietnam vets with little motorized carts to your venue.
Yeah.
That was every second of that was just so hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing.
Thank you. He was hysterical. He was a great person to have on set for that day. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It was performed wonderfully, and you edited and put that together. That was just great. In closing, now that you've written and directed and acted in this, I mean, you wore three very cumbersome hats, and it's finally released in the world. Which version of Reed Arnold learned the most from this experience? The writer,
the
director, or the actor? Okay,
the director for sure.
Director.
Yeah. The filmmaker. Yeah, I still have a lot to learn, but I know a lot more than I did.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I've published my review. It's on Letterboxd if you want to read it. And in looking around, I've it's now in my algorithm. I'm seeing other people's responses, and your film is universally loved, and it deserves every single bit of praise because it was such a breath of fresh air.
Well, thank you. I'm really glad, and I'm anxious as it goes out into the world, but I hope people respond to it and tell others, because that's how it's going to live or die.
Awesome. Well, I'm definitely going to give it all the good word of mouth I can. Reed, thank you so much for joining me briefly this morning for your interview with the film. It's called Do Us Part. I believe it's available on streaming after August 14th. You can access that probably through Apple, and I would assume eventually through Amazon Prime. If anyone listening to this, it is one of the best and most hilarious and heartfelt rom-coms I've seen in years. It was really brilliant. Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
No problem. Is there anything else that you'd always wanted to be asked about your film that no one's asked yet? You're like, that's the golden question. No one asks it.
I wish I had a good answer to that. It's a great question. To my knowledge, no. Most of the big stuff there's I could talk for hours about all the little stuff, but we don't want to bore your listeners about that. But no, I appreciate it much, and thank you for watching and enjoying.
You bet. The pleasure was all mine, and to any of my listeners, the pleasure will be yours as well. The film again is called Do Us Part, written, directed, and acted by my guest today, Reed Arnold. You do not want to miss this. It's a fantastic film, written so well, acted so well. Everything's firing. All the cylinders are firing. So I honestly think you're going to enjoy that. Anyway, thank you, Reed, for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
And that is my interview with Reed. I hope that you can agree with me. What a nice guy. What a down-to-earth, humble, nice guy. No ounce or scintilla of pretense. There's no pretentiousness at all. He's just a very grounded guy. I liked him. I would love to continue. I'm going to continue following his career. I really enjoyed the movie. I sat and I watched. I mean, do you know how hard it is to laugh by yourself? At a funny film? It's obviously more. It's easier to laugh along with a crowd, right? And that's the one thing I wish I had watching Do Us Part, is being able to have seen it with a crowd of people, because I had the headphones on, I was watching it here at the house, and I was laughing, and I think my kids thought I was just kind of laughing to funny TikToks or something, because I kept laughing by myself. Laughter is best when it's shared, and I would love to laugh with people, and that's the only thing I wish I could have experienced watching Do Us Part. But this thing is so hilarious. You have to see it, and I'm so glad that Reed gave up some of his time today to be on my podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the interview that I've had with him. Such a great guy. I wish him nothing but the continued success that he absolutely deserves. I'd love to see more films in this genre from him. But anyway, enough about that. Listen, thank you for joining me on this episode of the Fixate Binge podcast. I have got some exciting guests coming up. I always say I have exciting guests, but I do. I even have a New York Times bestseller on the horizon. So I am hastily trying to read his book, one of his best-selling novels. So I'm hastily reading that. All will be revealed when we get closer to his visit to the podcast. But for now, thank you for joining me for this week. I'll see you next week. As you know, I'm always here every week. I will be back next week with some more interesting guests, some more interesting topics, things to definitely discuss. I hope you're taking very good care of yourself. I hope you're looking after your health and well-being, and that you are in a good place. And if you're not, I hope you're surrounding yourself with positive people, people that uplift you, people that genuinely think highly of you. You may not think highly of yourself. Sometimes we don't. Oftentimes we're our own worst critics, but I hope that you are going out of your way to put yourself in the company of people who genuinely have your best interest at heart. And whether that's family, whether it's college roommates, just don't sleep with any of your college roommates' siblings, as they did in Do Us Part. I hope that you have those types of positive influences in your life. Your mental health is everything. It really is. I talk about it frequently on this podcast, but I can't stress it enough. Your mental health is everything. So look after yourself. The world can be hard and it can be cruel, but if you look for light, if you look for positive influences, you really go looking. I want you to commit yourself. I promise you'll find them. They exist. As ugly and negative and cynical as the world can be, and sometimes I talk about that ugliness and cynicism, and I get a little political and a little sociopolitical on this podcast. Let's not keep our head down in that headspace for too long. It's going to bring you down. It's not good. It's not good for you. So whether it's a hike in nature, whether it's a nice drive, or sharing some drinks with some friends, or going to see a comedy movie with some good friends, or an action movie with some good friends. I got to see an action movie a few weeks back with a good friend of mine that I've been friends with for years out here in California. Don't isolate yourself. Be around positive influences. It's good for you. And you need it. I think everybody needs it. Well, maybe not some of the worst people in the world. They don't need it. But I think all of us need it. So without much added to that, I know I don't want to get too schmaltzy, too sugary at the very end of this podcast. But I'll see you next week. Have a great one. Take care. Bye-bye.